What happens when family, fame, and frustration collide? Imagine cameras rolling, a production team waiting, and the world's most watched sisters caught in a moment of raw honesty. The drama behind reality television is often more intense than what makes it to the screen. In this story, Kim Kardashian and Khloé Kardashian are not just sisters, but co-stars, business partners, and cultural icons. Yet the balance is shattered when Kourtney Kardashian decides to skip filming, leaving behind a storm of unanswered questions. Why did she step away? What boundaries was she setting, and at whose expense? As I stood among the production crew, I could feel the tension thick in the air, as if the family's empire itself was about to fracture. This is not just another squabble, it is the moment Kim and Khloé confront Kourtney, a battle over loyalty, boundaries, and the cost of family fame. It begins quietly with a missed call sheet. Filming had been scheduled weeks in advance, and the crew prepared for a full day of capturing the Kardashian lifestyle. But Kourtney's absence was felt like a missing piece in a carefully constructed puzzle. No text, no arrival, just silence. Kim, always the meticulous planner, tapped her phone impatiently, her lips pressed tightly together. Khloé, ever the mediator, tried to rationalize it, but the truth was clear. Kourtney had deliberately skipped filming. And the whispers began. Was this rebellion or was this self-preservation? The cameras may have been meant to capture luxury and laughter, but on this day they captured something far more human. Kim leaned back in her chair, her voice cutting through the chatter. If she doesn't want to film, then why is she even here? It wasn't just about skipping filming. It was about breaking the unspoken contract that had bound the sisters for years. The show wasn't just a show. It was their legacy, their empire, and their obligation. Khloé, torn between frustration and sympathy, muttered, "She says she's setting boundaries." The word hung in the air like a warning. Boundaries. A word so simple yet so powerful. To Kim, boundaries sounded like betrayal. To Khloé, boundaries sounded like pain dressed in armor. And to Kourtney, perhaps, boundaries were a lifeline, a desperate attempt to reclaim control over a life constantly on display. Later that day, when Kourtney finally arrived, the room shifted. She walked in calmly, not with guilt, but with defiance. The tension was palpable, like static before a storm. Kim stood up immediately, her sharp tone piercing the silence. "You can't just skip filming, Kourtney. This isn't just about you, it's about all of us." Her words carried the weight of years of responsibility, deals, and relentless schedules. Kourtney's response was not defensive but steady. "I need space. I need boundaries. I can't live my life only for filming." Her voice trembled slightly, but her conviction was unshaken. This wasn't about laziness, nor about rebellion. This was about exhaustion, about a woman who had given years of her life to cameras and fans, now wanting to reclaim what little privacy remained. But Kim wasn't ready to accept it. She pressed forward, eyes sharp, hands gesturing with controlled anger. "You can't just decide not to show up. We all signed up for this. We built this together. And when you don't show up, it doesn't just hurt you, it hurts us, it hurts the crew, it hurts the brand." Khloé, watching both sides clash, tried to soften the edges. "Maybe we can find balance," she offered, her tone quieter but no less urgent. "Maybe boundaries don't have to mean breaking everything apart." She was, as always, the bridge between two extremes. Kim's relentless drive and Kourtney's desperate need for independence. Yet Kourtney wasn't swayed. Her words were a confession as much as they were a declaration. "I've given so much of myself, more than anyone knows, and I don't feel like myself anymore. I don't want to argue every day just to meet expectations. I want peace. I need peace." The room fell still, the sisters locked in a triangle of silence. Behind the cameras, producers shifted uneasily, knowing this was both chaos and gold. For them, this confrontation was ratings. For the sisters, it was raw, real, and threatening to tear open wounds that even fame couldn't heal. I watched as Kim's face softened, only slightly, as if she glimpsed the truth buried beneath the frustration. For years, Kourtney had been the quiet one, the one who seemed content to live simply, raising her children, stepping back from the glare. Yet here she was, standing firm, demanding a boundary that might alter the very foundation of their empire. Khloé placed a hand on Kourtney's arm gently but firmly. But when you set boundaries, you have to understand we're still in this together. We're sisters first, yes. But this show, this filming, it's part of who we are too. If you're out, we all feel it. The silence stretched long, broken only by the sound of cameras capturing every breath. Kourtney's eyes filled with a mix of sorrow and determination. I'm not trying to abandon anyone. I'm trying to save myself. It was a moment of truth, the kind that doesn't come with glam squads or scripted lines. It was the kind of truth that rips through years of glossy covers and red carpet smiles. The kind of truth that shows the cost of being a Kardashian. In the aftermath of the confrontation, the sisters retreated, each processing the clash in their own way. Kim, restless and driven, confided in the crew that she couldn't understand why Kourtney couldn't push through like the rest of them. Khloé, weary but empathetic, admitted she feared the family was drifting further apart. And Kourtney, away from the cameras, finally allowed her tears to fall, knowing that setting boundaries meant stepping into a storm. Days later, the confrontation still echoed through the family. The question remained unresolved. Could they balance fame with family, or would boundaries become barriers? For Kim and Khloé, the confrontation was about duty, responsibility, and unity. For Kourtney, it was about survival, identity, and the courage to say no. As I walked away from that day of filming, I realized this wasn't just a scene. It was a mirror. A mirror reflecting the impossible balance between personal freedom and public life. A mirror that revealed the fractures behind the fame. And a mirror that asked, silently but relentlessly, what are you willing to sacrifice for family, and what are you willing to lose for yourself? Kim and Khloé confronting Kourtney was more than just an argument about skipping filming. It was a clash of philosophies, a battle over boundaries, and a story of sisters caught between loyalty and liberation. In that moment, the show they had built together seemed fragile, and the bonds of family were tested in ways no camera could fully capture. And so the story of the Kardashians continues, not just as a spectacle of fame, but as a human story of struggle, survival, and the search for balance. Boundaries may protect, but they also divide. And in the end, the question remains, can Kim, Khloé, and Kourtney find a way to stand together, even as they fight for the space to stand apart?